Hello everyone, welcome back to Nimsite again. Today in this video, I'm going to talk about the police verification process or the police clearance certificate. This you need along with any of your applications, like be it for PR or other visa purposes. So I'm going to talk in terms of Australia, what is the process involved, how much time does it take based on my experience. So first, I'll take you through the whole process of the police verification and the documents that you need and which is the website. I'll place all the links also in the description section. So moving on to that part. Where you do your Indian PCC, I'll put the link of this particular website and all the links that I'm referring to in the description section for your reference. So this tells you what all things you need to have with your application. Like there is a PCC checklist, there's a personal particular form, a Form J, and we'll go through each of them and some of the things that you should take care of based on my experience. So the first is you need to first register yourself here. So this is the Passport Seva website. So you have to create a new account for yourself, register, and once you log in, there will be a section where you can fill your application form. And then for filling your application form, you will need to fill all these details, passport details, and then applicant details, family details. It will ask you your present residential address and all of these. So once you do all of these, there are some supporting documents also that you need along with the application form. Now the application form that it generates, you take a printout of that, you sign. There will be, like, I think 2 sections, one below the photo and one towards the end of the application form. These are the 2 sections where you need to put your signatures as well. So let's go quickly through the PCC checklist. So this gives you all of the things that you need. This is also another form that you need to attach along with your application. So it gives you an idea of all the things that you may need. So this is the one that I'm referring to, online application form. Then this is the personal particular form that was mentioned in this. Yeah. And so you need to fill that as well. Then there's a Form J. So this is basically referring to the form that is required if your appearance has considerably changed. It gives you an example also, like from with a turban to without a turban, or any sort of major change in your appearance. Only then you need this form. So I never needed this form. And then one thing that you need to be really careful about is now your photo. Okay, here there are some standard measurements and specifications that are given here. You need to be absolutely certain. So one tip that I would give is, instead of taking the photo yourself, I would say go to a professional studio or a professional place and get your photograph done there. Like I did my photograph in Australia Post, so they have been doing this for a lot of people, so they knew exactly what sort of requirements are there, so they did the photo for me. And then you need to submit your current Indian passport also, and the original is retained with them until your processing is completed. Then this is a mode of payment where you give your payment details. The payment is around $65 for all of your application. Courier charges, etc. are also included, I think. So you will mention your card details here and your passport number. Ensure that your passport number and everything is correct. So this is another thing that's required with the application. Then this also mentioned that there is a personal particular form. So personal particular form is again a form which gives your details. I think this is the form that the police who will be visiting your particular residence, they carry this form for the physical verification. So ensure that the details and everything are correct. So now if you see here, the photo specifications that are given here along with the application form, you would see that this block that is given here, your photo would come slightly out of it, the block that's allocated for it, and that's all right. You don't have to worry about that. So you fill all these details. You give your permanent address, that is the address that you have been, like your passport address and everything. Then you will give your present residential address, like where you're staying at the moment, with police station as well. So I'm staying in Australia at the moment, so I'll give that particular address of where I'm staying and my police station. And this is another column that for the last 1 year, if you have changed your different addresses. So since we were living on rent, there were 2 different addresses that we had to mention here. So for that, what you will do is you will take one more similar form printout and you will put exactly the same details, but only these details you can add the additional addresses that you wanted to add there. So like if you have not been living in this place for the whole 1 year, you can take one more extra page of the same form, fill in all the same details except this. So this is one tip that you can keep in mind. Now, then there are references, addresses of 2 people who are vouching for you, who can do your, you can support your application. So normally the police that visits your place, they will either get in touch with the numbers that you give here and addresses as well, and they'll contact them. So make sure all the details and everything are correct. You give your passport number here. So there's an option in PDF in Windows where you can sign the form. Like you can, instead of writing the form, taking a print and writing that, you can type as well. So that's one option to keep it like really neat if you want to. And so this is another form that you need with your application. So once your application is complete, you complete your online application form, you ensure that everything is complete. And if you're sending via courier, you take the printouts of all of these and you send on the address that would be given here, like VFS address. And yeah, that's all the things that you need to take care of. And I'll briefly also go through the Australian Federal Police Check if you have to do that. Now, Australian Federal Police Check is a bit more straightforward. Like it just needs an application form, your identity documents, and it's faster as well. So you submit the online application, you submit all of your it's called 100-point ID. That has 2 ID forms, your passport and some other ID along with your passport. And once you submit all of that, you get a reply, I think, within 3 weeks maximum. So it was pretty quick for me and it was pretty straightforward as well. So yeah. Now I'll briefly take you through the time frame that my application took and some of the things that you can keep in mind while doing your own process. So my application took about 1.5 months. So once I submitted the application, I had opted for the SMS service as well. So I kept receiving SMS and email intimations on the change of the status of my application. So once you submit your application, I got an email from VFS, and then after this whole process was done, in between I didn't get any emails like what's happening or anything, but after the whole process is done, I get another email that it has been completed and your PCC statement or that certificate has been dispatched. And then I got an email from courier service as well that your courier is on the way. So that's how much time that my particular application took. But like I said, I would have been lucky that the whole process took about 1.5 months, but it depends from person to person and case to case. Like I know of examples where it took around 3 months or maybe more than that as well. So I would say one thing you can keep in mind is once you get an email about your application has been started processing or that kind of an email, you can get in touch with your local police officer, the local police station that you have mentioned there. You can go to the reader and you can quote your application ID and you can get the details of the police officer that is interested on your case. So I did that. So I got in touch very initially only with the local police officer who was working on my case. So that helped a lot. So I could know the status of my application. We could fix a mutual time where someone would be there back at home where they can conduct that physical verification. My witnesses were also present during that time. So that, I think that speed up the whole process significantly. and they gave me a confirmation when they had successfully sent back the report. I also know of a case where an individual took more than 3 months for their PCC to be done, like they had no clue what's happening with their application, etc. So in this case, what happened is that by that time that individual got in touch with the police officer had already reported that the door was locked because there was no one home and an unsuccessful PCC. So in this particular case, what happens is that there was an unsuccessful PCC, so that particular applicant didn't know what to do. So what happened is, after a while, they got a call from the VFS representative stating that your application was reported as unsuccessful. Do you want us to reinitiate? So yeah, then the application was reinitiated again and this whole process was done again, but luckily with the same application ID. And now they got in touch with the police officer again, and that whole process then went smoothly. But this whole process took about 3 months. So that is why it's important to get in touch with your police officer so that you can ensure that the process is smoother. In worst case scenario, if you don't hear anything, like there is usually a website given where you can track the status of your application, but that website usually states that your application is being processed, it's with the consulate. That's all it says. It doesn't say or give you any more details than that. So in the worst case, if you don't hear anything, you can visit your local VFS office and get to know more details about what's happening with your application. Even after the police submits a successful report, even after that time, till the time you get back your passport and your PCC via courier, there is a gap in between. So you need to keep that in mind as well. So I hope this video was helpful. When I was doing my PCC, I was looking for a lot of resources to help me with my process, but unfortunately there weren't many. So I thought when I will do mine successfully, I would create a video on this. So I hope this was helpful. My whole experience was helpful when you do your PCC yourself. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe. Thank you. Content shared in this video is based on personal experience and research. If you enjoyed the video, like, share and subscribe. Keep watching, keep listening and continue learning.